Hey, everybody. Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, your host of Sales and Cigars. Today's episode is a fun guy I met. I just did his podcast a few days ago. Wes Schaeffer, the Sales Whisperer. We do a lot of the same things. We go about it a little bit differently. We have a lot of the same thoughts. He's funny. He's entertaining. He gives a shit about the people that he's working with. You know, if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for somebody that's going to challenge you and challenge your sales team in a different way. He's got a little Cajun flair to him. He's a veteran. So go grab a cigar, grab a cocktail, strap in for another entertaining episode of Sales and Cigars. Thanks. So Wes, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to jump on and have a conversation.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Full disclosure to the audience, you and I did your podcast a couple of days ago, so we're like old friends.
Old friends. BFF.
Yeah. Wow, I haven't heard that in a long time.
OMG, LOL.
Wow. But now there's a whole bunch more of those that...
Can you tell I have a lot of kids?
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's how they communicated. My daughter was sending me texts, like, when she was in high school. I'm like, I don't speak high school, so just regular English would be good for me, please. And it's a really hard thing for them to type out a few syllables. I'm not expecting punctuation and proper grammar, but like a full word would be helpful. It took me a long time to understand IDK, right?
Yeah.
And once I got that, the only one I really got was WTF. Which she didn't use a lot, which is
I bet once a week I type in something. I'm like, what is this? There's so many of them. Yeah. Like, LOL meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got you.
All right. So let me ask this. Is there a book that you reread or you gift a lot or helps people figure out how you think?
So those could be different questions. There's a guy named Roy Williams. He has a business called the Wizard of Ads down in South Austin. And I lived in Austin for years, not long enough. I'd love to go back. My mom's on the outskirts of town, but Roy Williams, Wizard of Ads. If you find anything by him, get it. He wrote a trilogy. You can look up Magical Worlds, just the Wizard of Ads, Secret Formulas. I gift those. I reference them all the time. I'll reread them once a year. And it's a compilation of his Monday morning memo, which he has sent uninterrupted, continuously for, I think, over 30 years.
Wow.
Just an old ad guy. He's not even that old, a little older than me, but grew up in like in Oklahoma and selling radio ads and working in radio. So he's very much in radio and television still to this day. I mean, it still works, but he's very good with print. And he thinks differently, and that he gave me kind of permission, if you will. All right, like learn like, okay, I'm a misfit, but it's okay. I'm not alone.
What was the name of the first book again?
I don't know the order, but Magical Worlds.
Magical Worlds.
Like I say, he wrote 3. He's written others as well. I've got all of his stuff. Pendulum, Destiny. He's just a different guy. I'll just leave it at that.
But his stuff is worth reading to help you with how to reach people, marketing, copy, that kind of thing.
Marketing, sales. I actually became the Sales Whisperer because one of his classes, he brought in a guy, a sales trainer, Steve Clark. And Steve taught a teleclass back in, I signed up in late 05. It started in early 06, changed my life. I became Steve's first licensee in late 06 into 07. So Steve changed my life, but I met him through Roy.
Got it. All right. That's a book I haven't heard of, so I just put that on my list to go grab. I'm just curious. Audible, print book, like Kindle. What do you do? What's your
I
go-to?
still read a lot, physical, but um, all the above. I carry my iPad around, so it is easy to skim through things. I listen to a lot of. I got more Audible than I can listen to probably in a lifetime. Uh, so, but yeah, I still like holding something in my hand.
Yeah, yeah. It's sort of that tactile thing.
Yeah, because I'll take notes. I underline. I tear my books up. I write notes. I'll have I have 8, 10, 20 bookmarks in a book.
Yep. Yep.
The iPad is cool because you can edit now. You can underline and stuff, and once you learn how to use them, right? Because then you can sort by what you bookmarked. You can sort by edits, so it does make it easy to look things up. But there's something about holding paper in your hand. It's just I still like it.
Yeah, it might be for the same reasons that we don't get the little acronyms that the kids use. So, but I do like the I like the paper in my hand. But sometimes I'll take, if I want to take notes, I'll have the book in my hand and I'll have the Audible going, and I'm getting it, with my eyeballs and my ears at the same time, and I can write it. So it really lands. I think it
sure.
So, all right. Like, this is why I do this, because I like to learn stuff. So talk a little bit about, like, when we're in the same space, we do things a little different, probably different approaches, bring our own thing to it. But how'd you get to doing what you're doing? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
So you told me to start in kindergarten, right?
Right. That's what I told you to do.
Man, I was in the Air Force. I was recruited by the Air Force Academy to play football, and didn't come from money. So it was one of the few places I could play ball for free. And the Air Force, they pay you. So I did my 5 years, but I was always interested in sales. I was interested in making more money. I think when you come from when you're missing out on something, that's what you want. So I was like, sales. And I jumped right into commission sales in 1997 after leaving the Air Force. You had a wife, we had a baby, had another one on the way. We did not know we had another one on the way when I got out. So if we knew Matthew was coming, we had 2 boys less than a year apart. So if I knew, so like doing the math, right? September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So she was 1 month pregnant when I left the Air Force. And so we just didn't know. And it probably would have changed my life. I probably would have stayed in, if I knew that he was coming. But you figure it out, right? You figure out how to get through whatever challenges come your way. And
we don't have choices typically when we have little people running around. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah. I mean, none of my kids have come with receipts. I couldn't return them. No warranties either. Like, what the heck, man?
Or a manual. They don't come with
manuals. No manuals. Well, there are manuals. They just usually aren't right.
Right.
Or it's
They're not specific.
Or you get a manual for the first one after you've gone through. Oh, I should have done that. Then the second one comes and you say, I'll apply that manual to the second. Nope, you need a different manual. So it just doesn't work.
No.
And I did all kind of stuff. Ended up in high tech right after the .com bubble. So it was totally chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if things are this chaotic as an employee, it's like they can't be any worse as a solopreneur. And and meeting Steve and kind of having a foundation, a path to follow, it gave me the system to follow, because I applied what he taught me as an employee and it worked. So I'm like, well, if it works for them, it'll work for me going out on my own. And that laid the foundation for me. Early 07, actually on my birthday in 07, April 3rd, I got laid off from the tech firm I was working at. I've been there for 3 years. I was one of only 3 people out of 33 that made my quota, but it was a personality thing, and the company was changing. It was chaotic, and I'm still very opinionated, but 20 years ago I was opinionated and boisterous, and so New CEO came in, consultants came in. I'm like, this is like I'm making my numbers. Leave me alone. They wanted me to do their things their way. And I'm like, you got 30 other people that aren't hitting their numbers. Why don't you go make them do it your way?
Right.
Maybe you should see what I'm doing. Maybe make this the way. But so, yeah, I was on vacation. It's never good when you get a call from your boss on vacation on my birthday. So I was like, all right, I went out on my own. Like, here's my sign, but I'd already laid the foundation. I had my domain name. I had the systems in place, and I was starting to give workshops already. So it was relatively smooth. It's always a shock, when that happens, but I had been laying the groundwork for it.
So people get into sales for different reasons. It usually has something to do with either a low bar, right? Because that's an option, I'm going to take it. Or, you have some sort of interest and curiosity, which is more what, your situation, you started thinking about it. And then you just start to develop those skills, invest yourself. And you said it a couple of times. And I think this is a point I made it a couple of weeks ago. It's the responsibility of the individual, right? Salesperson, sales manager. It's your responsibility as an individual for your career, for your development. Should a company help you? Yeah, they probably should. But at the end of the day, it's the individual's responsibility to read a book, take a class, and make an investment in some sort of program. And you did all those things that helped see you up, which, those of us who've done that get into sales development work, that's who we're attracted to, is people that are interested in getting better. It's the ones that are in your class or your workshop because they were told they have to, right? Those are the problem children.
Yeah.
But it's and that got you rolling, and then you found out you're having another little person running around. So now you have extra motivation to go. What do you got? 7 now? Is it 5, 7?
7.
I have one kid, as far as I know, and I have a friend of mine, an old customer, who's like, "You're not really a parent." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean I'm not a parent?" And he's like, "No, you got to have 3. You need at least 3 to be a parent, and because then you really gone through the whole cycle, and you're dealing with the chaos, and the third one comes along, and you're not taking pictures anymore. You're not all get excited about for their first birthday. Like, you got to go through that." He had 5. But at first I thought that's insulting, and then it's like, no, he's probably right, because I wouldn't want to have
3 is the magic number. I mean, like, you have 1, you're like, oh, this is so hard, and changing diapers and up in the middle of the night. And you have 2, and you're like, oh my gosh, 1 was easy, because now you got different size clothes, different size diapers, and blah, blah. Then you have 3 and you're outnumbered, and you're like, holy crap, 2 was easy, but after 3, it does get easier, because by then it's little things. The first one can brush his own teeth or buckle himself in the car seat. It's like that was so nice. Like, hey, get in the car. And so, because when you're buckling 2 different babies, 2 different sizes, like my daughter, she kind of followed our footsteps. She's got 2, 12 and a half, 13 months apart. And, so our grandson is bigger. He faces forward, different car seat. The little one's only 3 months old. We're carrying her out, and everything's different.
Mm-hmm.
The grandson's running away, while you're carrying the little one. So it's all relative. I mean, you figure it out. People have figured it out for, I don't know, a couple 100,000 years.
Yeah, it's, again, like, we don't have choices. We just have to go get it figured out.
Yeah.
So how much Air Force Academy, you play in D1 football, you played linebacker, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
How much of that informs teamwork, your mentality around a sales team, that work ethic. You don't get to hit people, I don't think, in sales. The way you
just can't leave a mark. Make sure there's no cameras. Everybody's recording, so it's harder today.
Yeah, you don't get to wear the helmet. But there's times that I'd like to get shoulder pads on and go do some bull in the middle kind of deal. With some salespeople. But it's seriously though, how does that? I mean, that's a high level program. How does that inform what you do in sales and managing teams and such?
It's hard. I mean, I knew early on. I was given a general manager role. I was 29 years old, and I knew then, like, I was a tough manager because I mean I'm a self-starter, right? And had kids and a wife that my wife has been home for 29 years, and it's like I got bills to pay, people. Like, let's go. And dealing with non-self-starters and just lazy people, it's I've butted heads with some people. Like I said, I butted heads with managers. I'm like, dude, I'm a self-starter. My stuff is done. Like, leave me alone.
Yep.
But people that are open-minded and motivated, I've got lifelong friendships. Like the podcast I had just before this, she's a friend. She became a client. She's been a long-term client. And she's sharing stories, things that I forgot, things that little nuggets I've shared with her, she took and ran with, and she appreciates my intensity. Now she's a motivated individual. She pays on her own to be in my group training. And so group training is different. When it's your own group training, it's different than when the company does it, because you'll have the naysayers in the back. They're just there they have to be there. And, I'll try to engage those people to a degree, and I can turn around most of them. I can make it relative and relevant, but I'm only going so far. It was like, a classmate of mine transferred and entered the Navy after graduation and became a Navy SEAL. And, I was accustomed, like in the Air Force, the academy, you had struggling people, like you help them, never leave a brother behind, that sort of thing. But like in BUDS, they don't really, they're not trying to help the guy get through, because they want people that can and want to get through on their own. Then once you prove that you're good enough, then of course you help them, that, because now they're a brother, they long live the brotherhood. So now they're a teammate. So now you're going to help the guy. But early on, it's like, suck it up, carry your weight, and leave them behind, because you got to make sure that everybody on the team is up for the challenge, So it's
because it's a different kind of team, right?
Yeah.
You're in, and I think there's a parallel there, but the SEALs are, not your regular group of fellas.
Right.
They do special things. They have special skills. They work as a special unit, as one. And it doesn't matter your size or whatnot, but you got to get there. So, I mean, if you're trying to really develop a special sales organization, a special team, you could take that same idea.
Yes.
And
you should. Too many companies,
but they don't
focus all their energy on the turkeys.
Yeah. The guy that isn't gonna, and it doesn't, if somebody falls out of, what do they call it when they drop out of BUDS? There's a term for that.
They call it a DOR. I dropped on request.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But when they do that, I mean, they're not a bad human being. They have skills. They still have value. They just don't make the cut to be a team. They can go back to whatever they were doing. So I think if we think about, if we really want a group of salespeople who are A players, we don't have to run them through underwater drills and make them swim across the 3 miles in the ocean, but we can do the equivalent and we should be focusing on, elevating that team on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you do have some B players on your team. Okay. But they should be B players because they're trying to become A players, right? They should have that drive.
Yeah, for sure. They're showing up. It's like having a lot of kids. You can spend all of your time and energy berating the ones not doing their chores on time or whatever, or you could just heap extra love and affection on those getting it right and let the laggards, for lack of a better term, say, I want all that extra love and affection. And hey, look, mommy, I went and I showered and brushed my teeth without you telling me. Oh, that's so great. Come here, come sit down with us. We're gonna watch a movie, whatever. So it's that positive versus negative reinforcement. I mean, and I know I'm tough. It's like, man, you're not cutting it. Like, I'm not gonna yell at you. You don't exist. I've told you what to do. I've shown you how to do it.
Right.
Everybody else is doing it and it's working for them. So not working for you, like, okay, go somewhere else where you can blossom, doing your own thing your own way. But it's also part of the company. They've got to set those standards in the beginning, like Nick Saban, he's a dichotomy. He did things his way. Okay. And he recruited it to his system. Now, over time, football changed.
Yep.
And he changed with it, though. But he said, okay, I'm going to change. We're more offensive, blah, blah, blah. We need these dynamic quarterbacks. Okay, I'll change, but it's still my system. And you see it's already changed. He's gone less than 1 year, and it changed. The culture has changed. But I remember seeing him, a video. It's after a game. They won. He's running out to midfield to, shake hands with the coach. And one of his players is goofing off. And he's like, knock that shit off. Don't do that. He's angry. Like, oh, that kid straightened up.
Right.
But, it's different now. But, I mean, you have to have a standard, recruit to that standard, lay it out. Here's what's expected of you. Are you sure? Do you understand the mission? Do you accept the mission? Okay, come on board.
Right.
Now we expect you to follow the process.
But it is that, and this is what people get wrong in a company, with sales managers, leadership. They talk about accountability, they talk about communication, but they don't define it, and they don't live it, right? So, if you don't set the expectation, here's what it means to come play at Alabama. Here's what it's not about skills. We'll teach you the skills, right? And they have to have the right level of skills to come play there. But
sure,
what's more about is their desire to be a champion and doing whatever it takes to be that successful within the bounds of at Alabama, maybe it wasn't always about the boundaries of legality, but the point is that you had to be willing to do what you needed to do and be ready to go, even if you practiced all week, right, and you didn't play. But that to me, that takes a special character. And we don't do that in sales. We don't do it in corporate America to set that stage for that person to know this is going to be tough. If I help somebody with recruiting salespeople, when we get to that interview, it's like, okay, let's talk about the role. Let's talk about the expectations. Let's talk about what you're going to have to do every day, every week, every month. And I'm not sugarcoating it. Yeah, it's tough. These aren't optional situations. We're going to manage these activities and behaviors because we know this is what creates success. And it's having a system that that works. I mean, I'm willing to listen to somebody, but I'm not willing to change because they don't want to do it.
Right.
There's some fundamentals that you just got to do. Period. End of discussion.
Period. Yeah.
And if you hit
hopefully, like, I don't think Nick Saban had to explain that, right? His track record spoke for itself.
Right.
He was successful, kind of like the Marines, right? The few, the proud. It's like, you're coming here because you want to be the best and you understand it's going to be hard. You're coming here because it's going to be hard. You're coming here because every week, every team you play is going to have the best game of their life. So you're coming here because every week you want to be pushed. So and I'm going to push you, are you up? So are you creating that kind of culture? Like, are you known for being tough but fair? Are you known for setting new higher goals and standards every quarter, every year? And it's hard. I mean, look, half the people out there are below average. It's just math. So half the companies are below average, half the leaders are below average, half your salespeople are below average. So what are you going to do about it? You have to intentionally put things in place to grow and to improve, because it's entropy, right? It's a law of thermodynamics. Everything tends towards this disorder, right? The universe is expanding and cooling and will eventually go to nothing. Same thing in your business. Every day you've got to be pushing, repairing things, improving things, because they're not going to happen on their own.
Oh, unless you have something exceptional going on with the right people that are all looking to get better. And that's something that I also don't see leaders doing is, I went to the University of Michigan, and Bo Schembechler, his idea was finding people that were smarter and better than him to be his coaches, right?
Yeah.
Put them in positions of authority to go do things. He ran the show. These are the rules. These are the guardrails. But you go do your thing. You go deal with the offensive line.
Yeah.
You go deal with the linebackers. And to me, leaders, they get to a point where they just want get away from the day-to-day, and they want the freedom so badly that they put the wrong people in place, and then things start to fall to shit, and then they got to go back in. And when you do that 2 or 3 times, then you lose the people that do care. So, and that happens in sales. So we've really talked around what it is that you do, right? I was described by one of the people that I work with as like an old football coach, right?
Yeah.
Didn't like me during practice. Wasn't really thrilled when we were doing those role-playing drills. But they liked payday. They liked the quarterly bonuses. They liked, their revenue increase. And eventually they grow to appreciate and respect. But, and I'm fine with that, right? I'm not looking for take long walks on the beach with people. I'm really just looking for them to get better. But putting that all in place. So, you've talked about a lot of fundamentals. What if somebody's out there and they want an old linebacker to come beat up their sales team and do those drills? Like what, how do you work? Who's your ideal so they can self-identify? Like, who do you want to work with? Who's that company?
It's smaller businesses. I had a 10-month gig helping Dell back in 2007. And it was great money. It looks great in the resume, but it's like, you don't move the needle at Dell, So I'm working with the owners. I'm working with the senior leadership, because ultimately, like, I got to help them fix their own stuff first. Because it's like, hey, can you come train my people? They say, oh, you're the sales whisperer. Oh, can you train my people? And they expect me to go, yes, and then start dancing. Yes, please pick me. I've done all this, and I'm like, how do you know you have people that are trainable? And then I say, and now, let's say I do come in. Are you going to drop them off like at daycare, and I'm just going to fix them? Is that what you expect? And what if I do? And what if I make them better than you? And they leave. So like
that's a great question.
I like to flip things around. That's what we have to do in sales anyway. We have to ask questions that they can't answer, or at least questions they haven't been asked before. That's the only way you can get to the truth. Because if we ask what they expect, hey, Walter, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Thanks for asking. You ready for Christmas? Yeah, I guess you really came up quick this year. Oh yeah, you staying home? You having family over? You're not getting any kind of truth. So you got to ask things they haven't already rehearsed, and that's where people, and look, I was one of those guys that would push back on you. When I was an employee, here comes this outside dude. What does he know about my industry? Now, and again, half the people are below average. Half the sales trainers are below average. They usually would come in and they sucked. And the role playing, it wasn't really role playing. They were trying to make me be a mini me. You're going to do things my way. I'm like, I don't want anybody to be a mini me. So I will give scripts and I will give things to kind of help them get started, like a sourdough starter, if you will. But then I give you the bandwidth, the leeway to make it your own. Okay. But you're not going from sourdough to pumpkin pie, right? You're still going to be making bread. And so the foundation has to be there. And so I love the naysayers because I'm like, give me your issue, and I'll address it there on the spot. So, I love working with, mid-sized teams, a handful of salespeople up to 10, even 20. But I mean, where everybody knows everybody, the owner's involved, the leadership is involved, and they're open to their own feedback. I'm not going to make them look bad in front of their people, but it's like they have to change, when they're bringing me in, when they're bringing you in, right? The leadership understands, okay, things have either gotten out of hand or they're going to get out of hand or we're just bumping along and it's just, I'm tired of being mediocre. It's okay, but it starts at the top, because like with me, right? I invested in my own training. I got better than my leaders, so I left, and now, the writing was on the wall. I mean, the company's still around. That same guy, well, he left, but he bought his way back in and kind of owns the company. But I mean, they're a fraction of themselves. So the writing was on the wall. But
I like the idea that you do a lot of things. Like you got a bit of a Cajun piece to you, right?
Yeah.
And it's calling it like it is. But when I enjoy the person who's at the bottom of the sales ladder that isn't producing, holding on, and they're the ones that start throwing out, you don't know anything about our industry.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think is really important to know about your industry that distinguishes you from every other salesperson out there? Yep. And they start to, you start asking them the questions that they can't answer. But usually what I do in those situations, because we're talking to same people, smaller groups of people, where the leaders are still cared, still involved, and that they want to do something different. They want to get better as a leader, and they want their team to get better. And the question I ask is like, why did they bring me in?
Yeah.
Was everything fine? Right. And they got to start looking in the mirror about what it is that they can do. And there's always a few that like, all right, let's go, let's do something. Let's try. And then you can leverage those people to bring the rest of them around. But there's some people that's just not worth the effort, and they're in the wrong seat and they need to be moved. So
yes, for sure. Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to make anybody look bad. I'm trying to help everybody get better. And sometimes the only way to get better is to leave. If you're doing the wrong thing, go find, where you can blossom.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm good with people, and I'm good at on the fly, giving them what they need, couching it, positioning it in their own verbiage, because I'm helping them be human. The old adage is we must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. And, I got the Sales Whisperer name. It was 2006, and I was literally watching the Dog Whisperer. I had my laptop on my lap, and Cesar Millan said, I rehabilitate dogs and train their owners. And I thought, I rehabilitate salespeople and train their managers. Most managers haven't had manager training. Most salespeople haven't had sales training. And the company will go, we'll give them sales training. No, they usually give them product training.
Yep.
Hey, look, we make mugs. We make fat mugs. They got velvet so it doesn't slide, and a big wide handle, and this lip so it's got a cap so it's non-spill, and the ceramic coating, it's $4.99 if you buy 1,000 of them. Go sell them.
Yep.
Who buys these and why? Am I selling it to retail stores? Are these good for promotional items? I mean, everything's different. They don't get into that.
No, if you can, onboarding your salespeople should be 70% of what questions should they be asking your buyer. Yep. By the way, who is your buyer?
Yep.
What do they care about? What are their problems? What do they have to deal with every day that you can help them solve? And 30% is product, and 70% is all of the stuff that they need to be able to do to go ask the right questions.
Yep.
And that's why we could walk into just about any sales office and figure out what it is that they sell and why would somebody care about that, and then go make a cold call and have, pretty good success.
Yep.
Because we know it's not about the thing. If you're talking about the thing, you're already screwed up. And you need to sound different. And you sound different than most of the I don't know what we call them, sales gurus on LinkedIn and the internet that just bug the shit out of me. So you've dropped a bunch of nuggets here. Like where do they go? I'm going to have your website. We have your LinkedIn in there, all your social media stuff. Where do you want them to go to, like, Wes, I need help?
So I've learned from doing 14 years of podcasting, you got to keep it simple. So I bought a new URL because people couldn't spell the Sales Whisperer, and they couldn't spell Wes Schaeffer. So you gotta take the onus off of people, right? And got to be easy to find. So I'm rebranding as the Business Fixer. So the email or the website is just fixerwes.com, and that'll take you to my website. And I've got links to my Inner Circle and 12 Weeks to Peak podcast. They can listen to your podcast interview, and all my social media. And if you connect with me online, then you're getting me. I don't have a VA do anything. It's fun. This guy hit me up on Facebook just last week, and we had just connected, and he does AI, right? That's his thing. And immediately the questions he's asking me, it's like they sounded a little too formal. But I played along for a bit. It was decent. I'm like, I want to see where this goes. And so after a little bit of back and forth, I said, hey, how much of this is AI? And he said none. It was all my VA, LOL. I'm like, all right, at least you admitted it. Because it was like, it just didn't feel right. This is like some rugged dude, with his beanie and big beard on his profile. And the words were a little too flowery.
Yes.
So you gotta be careful, right? It's like
you gotta be authentic.
You gotta be authentic. So it's like, I'm not trying to boil the ocean. I'm not dumping you into a bunch of stuff and assigning you to people. So when you message me, you get me. And so, if you want to talk, connect, tell me, you heard me on the podcast, and, I do a free consultation. There's a link on my calendar if you want to start that way, and we'll see if there's a fit.
Make it painless and determine if it's worth the effort. I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, one, I should have started with this, but thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And two, past or present, any relationship with cigars?
Yeah, actually, I owned a Tinderbox franchise for a while with some guys. Lost my shirt on it, but got a lot of good cigars. So don't be careful chasing, turning a hobby or a passion into a business. It's not always guaranteed to work. It
is not. And cigars, it's a hospitality industry. I know several guys. I belong to a couple of cigar clubs, and they're running a hospitality business that they happen to sell cigars. And
doing it in California is punitive.
Yes. Well, everything
55% tax. So when you buy $10,000 of inventory, you prepay a 55% tax
plus the floor tax, right?
Yeah. So 10 grand, you buy 10 grand inventory, boom. it immediately costs you $15,500. And so that's your cost, right? Now you got to mark that up. And then there's sales tax on top of that, which was higher. So it's,
And real estate is, California's a mess, but that's a whole different conversation from a different podcast. But it's a tough racket, like any hospitality business. But all right. Well, I'm sorry you lost money on cigars. I won't bring that up again.
No, it's fine. Hey, lesson learned. Don't forget the hard lessons.
Those are the ones that we should value the most, because those are the ones that are most painful. So, dude, I appreciate it. We're recording this a little before the holidays, so enjoy the time with your 7 children and 2 grandchildren and the rest of your family. Three. I'm sorry.
3.3 grandchildren.
Holy crap. Well, the 3.3, you're not getting anything for the 0.3 yet, right? That's still.
No, but I mean, I count him or her.
Got it. All right, man. Well, enjoy. Have a good time, and I appreciate your insights. And if folks have questions, I think we're cut from the same cloth.
Yes.
You got a little different accent and a slightly different approach, but I think you're would be fun to work with. So thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, my pleasure.
Hi, thanks for taking the time to listen and watch Sales and Cigars. Please don't forget to go hit the subscribe button and tell your friends about this. We've been doing this for a while, and I'm trying to grow the audience. And the goal of this whole podcast is to provide value to you, the listener, the audience, the business owner, the entrepreneur. We want to help out the guests and give them some exposure, and I want to have some fun and learn. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years. So please subscribe, tell your friends. If you've got ideas, please ping me, share those with me. If you're interested in being a guest, reach out. Thanks.